Welcome back to the Chosen Life podcast for another week. Jonathan Hacohen of Kormans LP. Ollie, she's the vice president of client development at our law firm at Kormans LP. You can see her on the website. She's being very sensitive lately, so she wants to sit on Daddy's lap. So she's going to be co-hosting with us today. And he's back. You think about, he's an Old Spice commercial rolled up with Dos Ecos. Stay thirsty, my friends. A manly man, a man that lives the life, lives the passion. Definitely someone that inspires me to be a better me. Austin Keitner of the Keitner Group. Austin, welcome back for another week.
Thanks, man. And I love being here because I get so much flattery. At home, my kids just knock me down every day. And I come here and you pick me up. So thank you so much.
Buddy, I know you got me on the speed dial and text. Any night you need that pick me up, give me a shout. I'll be happy to do it.
Thanks, buddy.
So, talking last week, as far as your life evolving, and we're kind of doing flashbacks, and we're kind of going all over direction. We never know what we're going to talk about on the show. I have a pretty good idea, though. And I got to ask you, man, because in real estate, foundational as far as being in the profession, the business, so to speak, how long have you been in real estate? It feels like you've been forever, man.
Yeah, it's been just over 11 years. And before that, I started real estate investing a little bit. That's actually why I got my license. I just wanted to learn more about the industry, learn more about investing, immerse myself in the industry. And I figured the best way to do that would be to study it, get my trading in courses, and then practice it.
So I figured this is hilarious because we've known each other for about a decade now, and I thought you were a seasoned veteran when I first met you. Wow. So you were actually getting new into the business when I first connected with you. I had no idea.
In my mind, Jonathan, I had to have that mindset that I had been doing this forever and that I could compete with the people who had been doing this a long time.
If they say fake it till you make it, man, you faked it very well, because I can tell you, man, I'm a 2002 call to the bar. I grew up in a real estate family, okay? That's all we ever talked about. I only knew real estate. Like literally from the time I could talk and I could listen, it was always real estate, real estate, real estate. Very few people could put anything past me. And man, if somebody had to ask me, one of the things I would have said, having met you and we started working together, I would have said, this guy's been in the business 10 years easy. He knows his stuff. So good on you that you knew the business from an investing point of view, but that is the aura and the confidence that you gave people. And that's clearly why you've done very well for yourself, because you have that confidence, but you talk to talk, but you actually can back it up and you actually put the effort in and have that knowledge. So amazing.
Well, when I first started, I started by knocking on doors. That's how I got all of my first clients. Yeah. And I remember one person called me out. He's like, well, I've never seen any of your signs in the lawn. Like I had no listings at the time. So he called me out. He's like, I've never seen any of your signs in the lawn. So I just had to learn to overcome these types of objections. And I just thought of myself as, I just asked him if that's important to him or what else is important in having, whoever he sells his house with. And then I changed the subject and asked if he was thinking of selling or if he was telling me that because he was thinking to make a move or something. But you go in with no credibility, you go in with no one knowing, but you have to I knew enough to know at the time that it didn't necessarily matter if they had plans for moving and they weren't already signed with somebody, then there was probably a chance that I could do it just by proximity, just by the fact that I was there. Because people drive by real estate signs all the time. They drive by billboards. They get flyers in the mail, but they don't have relationships with those people per se. And they're not, literally my first listing and my first sale was from somebody whose door I knocked on. She's also the first person I ever signed a listing on the same day that I knocked their door. And I've told the story a bunch, but she invited me into the house. And I was like, are you expecting somebody? She's like, yeah, you're here for the shit water, right? And I'm like,
the shit water?
The shit water.
Shit water. Okay.
I'm like, no, I'm a real estate agent. I am just coming by quickly to see if you've thought about selling your house. She's like, yeah, I want to sell my house, but I have shit water in my basement. I thought you were here to fix it. I'm like, no, I'm not here for the shit water, but here's my card. What's your number? If I don't hear from you by the end of the week, I'll give you a call and see how things are going with the shit water. And she called me later that day and said, okay, there's a $25,000 quote. I don't have the money to fix it. I need to sell my house.
Talk about being at the right place at the right time.
So this woman also had been a real estate agent for 25 years. She was like 10 years removed from being in the industry, but she had been a realtor for 25 years and she had been wanting to sell for over a year. She just didn't know who to call. So she was literally waiting for me to come to her house and signed it. And then she was one of my first sales. On the first day I sold any houses, I did 3 transactions. It was her place, and then it was a builder lot. So it was a double lot that a builder could sever and build 2 lots, and he did the deal through me. So it was 3 transactions first day, and all of it was from door knocking.
And you said, I am never going to work for anybody ever again. I have found my calling.
Yeah, it felt good. It felt right. I like putting deals together. I like, building something from nothing. That's definitely.
Austin, you do realize there are people who join the industry and 1 year in, they've had 2 leases if they're lucky.
Right. Yeah.
I
talk to them a lot. Yeah.
That's pretty freaking good, my friend. Now, when did you realize, because now you're talking, I'm kind of thinking about this. It's funny, like I'm seeing almost every transaction, I'm seeing every conversation we have like in a flash. And I'm like, oh, wow, I can't believe I never picked up on this. Because I think subconsciously, I was so impressed with how you set yourself up that I decided to do the same thing in my profession and how I do things. So, for example, client calls me up. I got introduced to you through my realtor. Great to meet you, da-da-da. And I give them a quote, next steps, and we'd go through, have a conversation. I'm a first-time buyer, da-da-da. And we get the process, the ball rolling to send the agreement. One of the first things I tell them is just to let you know, as part of the great service of working Kormans LP, you're working with me, you're not just with me. There's 2 lawyers, there's a clerk on every single file. Why? If I'm taping a podcast, if I'm in the hospital, somebody's sick, whatever, there's always a lawyer available, there's a clerk. And it's having that team approach. And I think part of where subconsciously I really like that team approach is how I saw the Keitner group working.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Because one of the things I know from day one was working with you, and part of the reason why I was so impressed, there was always a group, there was always a team, and not just in name, they actually are hands-on, they actually know what's going on with the deal, they're professional about it, they correspond with each other, and it makes life so much easier for the law firm, for the lawyer, for the client, and people see that. How did you come up with that? How did you realize that group approach is going to work so well?
So I knew enough about myself to know that I just wanted to sell. I didn't want to do administrative tasks because I suck at them. They take me a long time. I'll usually put them off. I just wanted to find leads. I wanted to go on appointments. I wanted to negotiate contracts. So as soon as I could, I hired an administrator, and you learn stuff. Like, you don't hire the right person, or you don't really know what they should be doing per se, because you're just like doing the bare minimum to keep your deals together, and service them the best you can with the limited skills you have administratively. But I was able to hire people who were better at those things than I was. So a lot of it was through training. So I was learning from my brokerage who to hire, what kind of personality traits they should have, or behavioral profiles they should have, what kind of tasks I should be assigning to them, having them shadow me while I'm doing my work and my paperwork, and having them learn kind of what I knew how to do, and then hopefully taking it to a next level. So I knew very quickly, like, I needed an administrator. And then as I started doing more sales, I started off by hiring inside sales agents. After I got the administration mostly covered, I hired inside sales agents because I just wanted to do more. I wanted more business opportunities. Yep. I could only door knock a certain amount of doors every day, but if I hired somebody else, they could make calls while I was knocking doors, or they could knock doors as well. So I ended up having, like, in my first year, 3 inside sales agents, 2 administrators, and I doubled from my first year. So my first year, I did 350,000 gross commission. It was 95% from door knocking, a couple sphere deals because they saw that I was having some success. And then we doubled that the next year with the inside sales agents and with the administrative support. But I was spread very thin. So our sales didn't grow for 2 or 3 years. So I had the administrative support, I had the team support, but I was taking listings and working with buyers all the way from Milton down to Southeast Scarborough. So we were spread really thin. We were getting no momentum. I was having to learn about the areas every time I was going on an appointment. So very inefficient. But after a few years, I noticed that half of our sales were still coming from the original neighborhoods that I first door knocked.
Really?
So that concentrated effort of prospecting in that area was still paying dividends. So we just decided to go all in on that. My brother was just getting licensed at the time. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I'm not going to know all these areas. Like he was getting stressed out, like anxious about
I
like
figured there was a relationship because I noticed the last name was the
Joe,
same. Yeah, of course.
yeah, he's an amazing agent. He does like $1 million gross commission every year on our team.
I think he's long surpassed you. I mean, that guy is like now like.
Oh yeah, well I had my worst year this past year with my personal production, and he just keeps being consistent with high level of production.
I keep seeing his name on everything, so hey, good on him,
Yeah.
right? But obviously, you taught him well, and it's great that you have that trust and respect. You know, and something about a family bond. It's doesn't make life a lot easier.
Yeah, it's definitely improved our relationship, and yeah, he's awesome to work with. And but anyway, we started just honing in. Like he got his license at that point, and he didn't want to be like just a generalist like I had become. So we just honed in on Mimico, and he just door knocked that area. All of his open houses were in that area. He became Mimico Joel on Instagram and just started following all the local businesses and following anybody who was following those local businesses, and he'd reach out to them. So we were doing this like super concentrated marketing effort. We would send sales data to everybody who he added to his database as a lead for that area, so that we could be positioning ourselves as the local experts and the local voice of value for things that are happening in real estate in the area. And then our business doubled again for the first time in like 3 years. Doubled just by honing in on one specific area. So and we had more time because we weren't driving all over the place, studying new areas every week. We just started honing in on, and then we just did all of the South Etobicoke, W06, that kind of organically spread into Southeast Mississauga. I think people pigeonhole themselves a little bit. Like you're taught when you're farming an area just to like get 2,000 or 3,000 houses and just keep going after those over and over and over. But like, you don't have to do that. You can door knock the adjacent communities. Like you don't have to just talk to those people over and over. You're going to start bothering people if you keep talking to the same people over and over. You want to keep giving them value. You want to keep bringing them towards you with community events, giving them information about the real estate data, but you don't have to keep asking them if they're thinking of selling their house.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes with farming. But so we just, and now we just have like amazingly trained assistants that are helping with our transaction coordination. We're dialed in because our software just has every time there's like a listing sign, there's like 50 or 60 pre-MLS tasks that have to happen. So there's consistency. Like every time we initiate that auto plan, and then the right people are assigned the right tasks. And then when certain tasks are done, it's an automatic text to the agent, or an automatic text goes out to the client, so that there's amazing communication. So it's all just systematic, and the agents can feel confident when they're signing a listing or doing a buyer deal or whatever it is, that the right things are going to happen at the right time, and that they're not going to be the ones to have to do it. They're just going to know that it's happening, and their client's going to get an amazing service, and they can go and get the next client, which is exactly like when I got into the business, that's what I wanted. It took some time to build it the right way and the way that we wanted it, but I guess that's where we're at, and that's what you're seeing now.
Well, I gotta say, working from my end of things, I work with a lot of realtors, a lot of brokerages, right? And I meet a lot of clients. One thing I will say, a Keitner client stays a Keitner client. There's a lot of loyalty once they're part of your brand. I've noticed that. And when I go to give seminars at a brokerage, for example, I tell the agents, one of the things a lot of people don't understand, it's all about get clients, right? And I told them there's reaches a certain point of time, you don't need to go and get clients, but you need to keep the current base in the know and happy. So one of the greatest crimes I would say in real estate is a realtor going and making all the effort to go and door knock and find a client, right? They go and they speak with them and they help them buy a home, sell a home, whatever it is, right? We had a great experience, blah, blah. They come to see them a week later, bring them a bottle of champagne. Life is good, right? You think you have a good relationship. What those realtors don't realize is, let's say 3-4 years down the road, I get a call from that same client. I was their lawyer. And they're saying, my realtor helped me buy a condo downtown Toronto. It was a great experience. I've now put an offer in and I'm buying a townhouse in Collingwood. I'm like, fantastic. And then I get the deal in. I'm like, where's the realtor? It's a different realtor. Oh, well, that was a Toronto downtown condo. So I just figured that they wouldn't know Collingwood. So I went to a Collingwood person. I'm like, interesting. And I said, did you think about calling your realtor? And they're like, no, why would I do that? And I'm thinking in my head, wow, if I was the realtor and I finished off with this person building a relationship, how did they not know what areas I can service, what transactions I can help them with? Why did I not give them that information, you know? And part of the thing is why that's a crime. Number one, you've lost a transaction there where you could have possibly done it if you could have done that transaction. But now they've worked with somebody new and they might have had a great experience with that somebody new. They may not be coming back to you. So I tell realtors, if nothing else, like when I finish off a client signing and I finish that appointment, we bought a property, sold a property, they're not leaving that appointment till they know I can close any real estate deal in Ontario. I could do of any kind, corporate, commercial, wills. This is who I am. You have anything you need to sign your name to before you do it, you call me. I leave them that information. Why don't realtors know how to progress that way for the most part?
It's like treating it like a Tinder date. So it's transactional. It's once. You know, most people only move once every 7 years. So to keep in touch, I think is just like it requires some systems. It requires some purpose. You have to be intentional about it for sure. And I can relate. Like I can understand. Like you're probably not going to do another deal with that client for 7 years, but that's why we have like team events. We'll bring our clients towards us, even if we know that they're not going to come to a skating event that we're going to do for Christmas. It's a great excuse to reach out to them. So we just want to stay top of mind. We want to make sure that they're getting the sales data for wherever we move them to, and it's coming from us. So they're seeing us every week or every 2 weeks or every month, whatever we set them up on. So, we realize that it's important that we're staying top of mind. It's really like, it's a mind share business. Like people can, like, I think the stat is that like 60 something % of people will sign with the first person they can think of, and 85% or 86% of people will sign with one or the first or second person that they think of. They'll meet with two people before they sign. Yeah. So if you're not the first or second person someone thinks of when it comes to real estate, then you're probably not even getting a seat at the table. So for us, it's our systems, our processes, our past client communications. The reason we do events is to keep that top of mind as an excuse to reach out. And like, we like the people that we work with, so we want to maintain relationships with them.
And like a feeling like working with Joel, for example, Joel Keitner, your brother, and a client works with Joel, an issue comes up, they call Joel. They're thinking about another property, they call Joel. Like they've been programmed, they know as anything, they have that comfort level, Joel is there for them. And sometimes they won't even listen to me. They have to hear it from Joel first.
Oh, is that right?
But that's good. That shows loyalty. That means that Joel has done his job as far as building the relationship. And that's where ultimately, we're all service providers, and people watching this, whether you're a lawyer, you're a realtor, accountant, mechanic, whatever it is, this is not about transactional Tinder dates. It's about building relationships. And if you build a relationship and a friendship, you're together forever, right? And that's what when I wake up in the morning and I meet people, I don't want to do transactions. I want to build relationships. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of agents do, like, because there's inevitably problems with transactions, and how you handle those makes a big difference. Like, I'd rather have a problem with a transaction and get to solve it than have no problems at all. Yeah. Because when you have that experience, or when that customer has that experience and you help them overcome something, because like sometimes it's like if you make the transaction, and this is what happens a lot of the time, like you can make the transaction so seamless and so easy that it seems like you didn't do anything, which is part of the art of like doing a really good job. But even when you're doing that, like inevitably something will come up, and I honestly think that's better. Like we get to overcome a challenge that they had and like step up and not like, not avoid the call, not avoid facing the problem, but taking it head on and overcoming it with them. It seems to reinforce the relationship. And I think that's one of the things Joel especially does extremely well.
Well, we barely grazed the surface, man. And another week has gone by. It's unbelievable. I have a list of 30 questions in my head, and it just, we're jumping into such important topics, I think, for people. And the idea being the chosen life is inspiring people, whether you are in real estate, think about getting in real estate, you want to make money, is getting to understand it's all about mindset. There's systems, there's protocols, there's things. You don't just, money just doesn't flow in from the sky. It doesn't work like that. You work hard for it, but there's intention with it. And one of the last questions now I wanted to ask you as we end today's episode, Austin, is this. It took time to build the team. You starting off in the profession and building up the team and the brand and getting people to know you and know the brand. So how do you grow that team? Like when I'm sure you get the applicants in or word of mouth from realtors, how do you choose who's the next person in the team? What's that process like?
So it always starts with a screening call. I just want to see if I'll like the person. I think a lot of people don't take that into consideration. the vetting process. Like, you have to like the person. You have to want to work with them every day. You have to want to be able to have them over for dinner. I think that's super important. There has to be that likability mutually. But they also have to be like willing to work hard. Like, I think that some people get in and they watch too much HGTV and they think it's all a cakewalk and walking into beautiful homes. And there is that. But like, when we onboard somebody, like, they need to preview 100 homes in their first 30 days. Like, that makes it a job. Like, that's going to be like 10 hours a week easily. But they need to get to know inventory. If they don't know what's on the market, if they don't know the inventory, it's going to be really hard for them to be able to speak intelligently to potential customers. They need to dial 150 people every single day so that they're getting at bats, they're getting reps. They're going to have to do a day where they call 1,000 people in one day. Like, we have some really high standards for action and activity, because we know that if they don't do those things, they're not going to succeed in this business. And most come in with at least a 6-figure goal of net income. And to be able to do that, like, in your first year, you have to talk to a lot more people than you expect. There's also a certain number of open houses. Like, they should be doing at least 4 open houses a month. They should be bringing at least 100 to 200 people from their contacts into the database so that we can start having dialogue and they can start calling them and letting them know that they're in the industry and that they're working with this awesome team, with this awesome technology, and they're going to be setting them up to see sales data within a mile or two of where they live. So there's Sphere, there's an open house protocol, there's a prospecting protocol, and then we're going to start sending them leads from the internet and from our listings and from our database. So we want to help them build their business from the leads that we're going to get for them and help them nurture. And we want them to build their business from the activities that they're going to do that are going to bring new leads in that we're going to work together to nurture. And then once they convert those with the listing presentation that we're going to train them on and the buyer consultation that we're going to train them on, then they can start to benefit from some of the leverage from the actual transaction so that they can continue to do that cycle. They should be spending all of their time in lead generation, appointments, negotiating contracts, signing listings, negotiating contracts, and almost no time in the administrative side, because the administrative side is the lowest dollar per hour activity. And if they're coming into our team, it's because they want to be a high dollar per hour income earners.
If you can't say this, but I will. If you're a realtor out there that the career is stagnant, or I don't like to pick up the phone, I don't want to bother people, I don't like the door knock, that's not for me, you know what, I have other ways. Welcome to the big leagues. If I was a realtor that didn't want to do those things and I heard what you just had to say, Austin, I would go under my desk, sobbing uncontrollably in a fetal position. And man, am I cut out for this? And I'm sure there are people that you have to have that hard conversation, say, there may be a style that works for you, but this is not, you're not a New York Yankee. You know, you're going to be in the big leagues. You got to be able to get those 50 home runs. That's the way it is. It's a numbers game, right? There's an effort component to it. And it's funny, you know, it's one thing about being able to hit 50 home runs, but if you're not even taking those at bats, you're never going to get those home runs. So I hope.
And I'm not above any of it. I'm doing a 5,000 dial challenge and adding 50 new leads to my database from October 15th till December 31st this year. So I'm dialing over 100 people a day right now. It's like 3 to 4 hours of calling, plus my appointments, plus the parenting stuff, plus like
sleep and eat and etc. 3 to 4 hours a day.
So I'm not above it. I'm willing to do everything I'm asking the agents to do. In fact, it's required to have the success that people are looking for.
This is why you are where you are in life, my friend. Kudos to you for that hard work and the passion and being humble about it. That's one of the things I've noticed from the time I've met you, and we're talking here in person. I see you in a certain light. You don't see that light. And that's that humbleness, I think, that continues the drive and the hard work. Because I always tell people, if you think you've made it and that's what you truly believe, then you're going to hit a ceiling. When you have that hunger and saying, I'm not there yet, I have to keep going, you'll keep going. And this is where we're going to keep going next week, because Austin's going to come back for a third week. Wow, because he's got so much to tell us. And we got to know your family. We got to know your business and career. I want to know about this next chapter and about this wellness, because I'm all about lifestyle, buddies. So he's Austin Keitner, Jonathan Hacohen. We'll be back. Chosen Life Podcast.